I've been living with my mom and stepdad for the past 3 years, and things have been rough. I'm 19, trying to find my way, and everything feels like it's slipping through my fingers. It all started when my mom married my stepdad when I was 16. At first, everything seemed okay. He was nice enough when we all hung out together as a family, but once it was just the two of us, that's when the trouble began. He'd make little comments, like how I was lazy or not helping out enough around the house. I tried to ignore it, to stay out of his way, but that only made things worse. As time went on, his criticism grew. When my mom wasn't around, he'd tear me down. The way I did chores, the music I listened to, even the way I dressed, it was never good enough for him. It felt like no matter what I did, I was always falling short. I tried talking to my mom about it a few times, but she brushed it off. She'd tell me, "He's just trying to help you become more responsible," or, "I'm sure he doesn't mean it that way." But deep down, I knew something wasn't right. Then, about 6 months ago, my mom found out she was pregnant. My stepdad was thrilled. He started planning everything, talking about the baby's room, all these grand ideas for the future. I was happy for my mom, but part of me felt left out. That's when the lies started. My stepdad began telling my mom all these fabricated stories about me, how I was staying out late when I wasn't, how I was being disrespectful when I wasn't. And no matter how much I tried to defend myself, it was always his word against mine. My mom was caught in the middle, confused, unsure of who to believe. Then, last week, my stepdad dropped a bombshell. He wanted to remodel the house to make space for the baby's nursery. He was talking about knocking down walls, moving rooms around. At first, I didn't think much of it. But then things took a sudden, unexpected turn. 2 days ago, my mom sat me down for a talk. She looked uncomfortable, like she couldn't even meet my eyes. She told me, "Honey, you're 19 now, and you're becoming a man. We think it might be time for you to get your own place." I was stunned. "What?" I stammered, "Why? Did I do something wrong?" She rushed to reassure me, No, it's not that. It's just, well, with the baby coming, we need the space. You're old enough now to be on your own. It'll be good for you to learn some independence." But I could see it in her eyes, this wasn't her decision. My stepdad was standing in the doorway, arms crossed, with this smug look on his face. That's when I realized, he put her up to this. I tried to argue, to explain that I wasn't ready to move out. I'm still in community college, working part-time at a local grocery store. There's no way I can afford to live on my own right now. But my mom kept repeating, "It'll be good for you. You need to grow up." The worst part? My stepdad chimed in, saying, "You've got 2 days to find a place. We need to start remodeling, and we can't have you underfoot while we're preparing for the baby." 2 days? How am I supposed to find a place in just 2 days? I don't have any savings. I don't even know how to rent an apartment, let alone afford one. And my friends? They all still live at home too. I spent all of yesterday in a daze. I couldn't focus at work. I kept making mistakes, and my boss noticed. "Everything okay?" he asked. I just mumbled something about family problems and tried to get it together. But when I got home, I overheard my mom and stepdad talking in the kitchen. He was saying things like, "It's about time he moved out," and "He's holding us back." My mom sounded unsure, but he kept talking over her. "You've got to cut the cord sometime. He'll thank us for this later." My blood boiled. I wanted to burst in there, to confront them both, but I knew it wouldn't do any good. My stepdad has my mom wrapped around his finger, and anything I say will just be twisted and used against me. Now, I'm sitting here in my room, trying to figure out what to do. I've got less than 24 hours to come up with a plan, and I'm completely lost. I can't afford an apartment. I don't have any relatives nearby who could take me in, and I don't even know how to start looking for a roommate situation. I've thought about talking to my mom one more time, but I'm afraid it'll just make things worse. My stepdad will accuse me of manipulating her, of being selfish. I've even thought about refusing to leave, but what would happen then? Could they legally kick me out? Would they call the police? I don't want to cause a scene, but I don't want to end up on the streets either. Part of me wants to just pack a bag and leave tonight. But where would I go? Maybe crash at a friend's place for a night or two, but that's not a long-term solution. It feels like my whole world is crumbling around me. This is the only home I've ever known, and now I'm being pushed out with no warning, no support. I'm angry at my stepdad for orchestrating this, hurt that my mom is going along with it, and terrified about what's going to happen next. I keep thinking about all the little things I'm going to miss, the smell of my mom's cooking, the creaks of the floorboards, even the stupid arguments with my stepdad. It might not have been perfect, but it was home. And what about the baby? I was actually excited about becoming a big brother, even if it was going to be a little weird with everything going on. Now, I might never even get to know my little sibling. Will my mom and stepdad pretend I don't exist? I'm trying to stay calm, to think logically, but it's so hard. Every time I try to make a plan, panic sets in. How can I juggle school, work, and finding a place to live all at once? And even if I find somewhere, how will I pay for it? I've been looking at rental listings, but everything is so expensive. The cheapest studios are way more than I can afford with my part-time job. Most places want first and last month's rent, plus a security deposit. Where am I supposed to get that kind of money? I've thought about dropping out of school to work full-time, but that feels like throwing away my future. I've worked so hard to keep my grades up, and I don't want to give that up. But how can I keep going to school if I don't have a place to live? The more I think about it, the angrier I get. This isn't fair. I didn't do anything wrong. I'm not a bad kid. I don't drink, I don't do drugs, I've never been in trouble with the law. I help around the house, I get good grades, I have a job. Why am I being punished? I keep replaying the conversations with my stepdad in my head, wondering if I could have done something different. Maybe if I had stood up to him more or tried harder to bond with him, things would be different. But deep down, I know that's not true. He made up his mind about me a long time ago, and nothing I could have done would have changed that. I've thought about reaching out to my real dad, but we haven't spoken in years. He left when I was little and has never really been interested in being part of my life. I don't even know if he'd answer if I called. As for other family, my grandparents passed away last year, and I don't really know my aunts and uncles. They live in different states, and we've never been close. I can't imagine any of them would be willing to take me in. It feels like I'm running out of options, out of time. And with every passing second, I feel more lost than ever. I feel so alone. I can't talk to my mom about this, she's made it painfully clear whose side she's on. My friends, though well-meaning, try to be supportive, but none of them truly understand what I'm going through. They think it's cool that I'm moving out, like it's some big adventure. They have no idea that I'm being forced out, no preparation, nowhere to go. I've even thought about posting on social media, asking if anyone knows of a cheap room for rent, but I just can't bring myself to do it. The idea of everyone knowing my business, of them thinking I'm some kind of loser who can't take care of himself, it's too much. As the hours tick by, my desperation grows. I'm looking at roommate ads, but most of them want someone older or with a full-time job. I've even considered sleeping in my car, just for a little while. But is that even safe? Is it legal? I don't know. Every time I think about it, I'm overwhelmed with fear. I keep hoping my mom will change her mind. Maybe she'll realize how insane this is and tell my stepdad to back off. But no matter what, every time I see her, she just looks at me with this sad, pitying gaze and asks, "Have you found a place yet?" It's like she's already given up on me. I'm standing on the edge of a cliff, about to be pushed off, and I don't know what to do. I'm not ready for this. I don't have the skills or resources to live on my own. I'm scared. Scared of ending up on the streets, scared of having to drop out of school. If anyone has been through something like this, if anyone has any advice, I'd really appreciate it. I'm running out of time, and I don't know where else to turn. Thanks for reading this far. Sorry for the long post, I needed to get it all out. Update. Hey, everyone. I can't believe I'm writing this update. So much has happened in the last 24 hours, and my head is still spinning. I want to thank every single one of you who responded to my original post with advice and support. Honestly, it got me through a really tough night. After I posted, I was still panicking about what to do. That's when I remembered my grandma's sister. She's always been like a godmother to me. I hadn't thought of her at first because she lives pretty far away, but at this point, I was desperate. So, I decided to give her a call. As soon as I explained everything, she got really quiet. Then, she said, "Don't you worry about a thing, sweetie. You don't need to go anywhere. I'm coming there tomorrow, and we'll sort this all out." I was confused, but also relieved. I tried to tell her it wasn't necessary for her to come all this way, but she insisted. She told me not to say anything to my mom or stepdad, just act normal until she got here. The next day, my stepdad was getting more and more impatient, asking if I'd found a place yet and making snide comments about how I needed to be out by the afternoon. I just kept my head down and said I was still looking. But at 2 p.m., the doorbell rang. My stepdad answered it, and I heard my godmother's voice. She sounded angry, which was weird because she's usually so calm. She marched into the living room, where my mom and I were sitting, and said, "We need to talk. All of us." My stepdad tried to argue, saying it was a family matter, but my godmother shut him down. "I am family," she said. "And I have something very important to tell you all." Then, she dropped the bombshell. She looked right at me and said, "Honey, this house belongs to you. Your grandmother left it to you in her will. You're the legal owner, and no one can make you leave." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My mom looked completely shocked, and my stepdad's face turned red. He started sputtering, trying to deny it, but my godmother pulled out some papers from her purse. She explained that my grandma had changed her will shortly before she died. Apparently, she knew about my mom's relationship with my stepdad. It started before they even got married, and she didn't trust him. My grandma was worried he might try to take advantage of my mom and me. So, she left the house to me as a way of protecting us. My mom was in tears, asking why she hadn't been told about this. My godmother explained that it was all done quickly and secretly when my grandma was on her deathbed. She said my grandma had made her promise not to say anything unless it became absolutely necessary. And now, she said, looking at my stepdad, it's necessary. My stepdad completely lost it. He started yelling about how it wasn't fair and how we had tricked him. He even tried to grab the papers from my godmother, but she pulled them away. That's when I found my voice. I stood up and told him to stop. I said, "This is my house, and I won't have you acting like this here." It felt strange to say, but also, kind of, good. For the first time, I felt like I had some power in this situation. My mom was still crying, caught between me and my stepdad. I could see the conflict in her eyes, torn, confused. I felt bad for her, but I was also so angry that she had gone along with his plan to kick me out. After things calmed down a bit, we all sat down to talk. My godmother explained the legal details, and it turns out I've been the owner of the house since my 18th birthday. My stepdad kept trying to argue, but there wasn't much he could say. In the end, I made a decision. I told them that I was willing to let everyone stay in the house, including my stepdad and the baby when it comes. But I had conditions. First, my stepdad had to start treating me with respect. No more criticism, no more lies to my mom about me. Second, we all had to go to family counseling to work on our relationships. And third, any major decisions about the house had to be discussed with me first. My mom agreed right away. My stepdad wasn't happy, but he didn't have much choice. It was either accept my terms or leave. It's been a few days now, and things are still tense. My stepdad barely speaks to me, but at least he's not openly hostile anymore. My mom seems torn, guilty about what happened, but also relieved that we're all still together. I'm still processing everything. It's weird to suddenly be the owner of a house at 19. I have a lot to learn about property ownership and responsibilities. But I also feel more secure than I have in a long time. I know we've got a long way to go before we're anything close to a happy family, but at least now I know I have a place here, and no one can take that away from me. Thank you again to everyone who offered support and advice, and a huge thank you to my grandma, wherever she is, for looking out for me even after she was gone. I promise I'll do my best to take care of this house and make her proud.